Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a huge, kind of hidden experiment that's happening all over the internet. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who are deciding to quit internet porn, and we're going to look at the science to understand exactly why they're doing it and what their experiences tell us about our own brains in this modern world.
So you have to ask, what is going on here? This is not just a fringe group. We're talking about a massive, grassroots movement, and all these people, they're trying to solve some very real problems in their lives. Things like brain fog, a total lack of motivation, even sexual dysfunction, and they've all started to trace it back to this one single source.
All right, to really wrap our heads around this whole thing, we have to start right here. Because, the high-speed streaming internet porn of today, it's a completely different animal than the magazines or grainy videos of the past. The technology itself totally changed the game.
And this is the fundamental shift. I mean, think about it. We went from a world of scarcity, where getting this stuff was limited, maybe even a little awkward, to a world of just infinite, immediate supply. And the key difference, the real game changer? Inexhaustible novelty, available 24/7 for free. That one change, well, it changes everything.
And this right here, this quote from a user just nails it. It captures that shift perfectly. The old formats, the magazines, they were manageable. But the new tube sites, with their never-ending stream of high-impact clips, they prove to be way more potent, and for a lot of people, a whole lot more addictive.
So what is it that makes this new format so incredibly powerful? Well, the answer isn't really in the content itself, but it's in our brains. Let's take a look at how this new technology interacts with our very ancient, very powerful reward circuitry.
Okay, so here's a super common mistake people make about dopamine. We all think it's the pleasure molecule. It's not. It's the molecule of the hunt. It's that neurochemical that whispers in your ear, hey, keep searching, the next thing might be even better. And guess what? Nothing keeps that system firing on all cylinders like the promise of endless, new, novel content just one single click away.
This brings us to a concept scientists call a supernormal stimulus. Basically, it's an exaggerated version of something our brains are already wired to seek out. And it's so intense, so exaggerated, that the brain's reward system can actually get rewired to prefer the artificial version over reality. Kind of like that poor beetle trying to mate with a beer bottle because it seems bigger and better than a real female.
And when that happens, you get these 4 changes that create this powerful downward spiral. First up is desensitization. You need more and more extreme content just to feel anything at all. Then comes sensitization. Pretty soon, just seeing your laptop or picking up your phone can trigger these intense, unconscious cravings. On top of that, you get hypofrontality, which is a fancy way of saying your willpower center gets weaker. And finally, your stress circuits get hijacked, which means just having a bad day at work can be enough to send you right back into the cycle.
And look, these changes in the brain, they aren't just theoretical. They don't just stay in a textbook. They start showing up as very real and often really distressing symptoms in people's everyday lives. What's so striking is just the huge range of issues that people report. It often starts with sexual problems, like what they call porn-induced erectile dysfunction, or PIED. But then it starts to expand. A general lack of motivation, social anxiety, this mental cloudiness that so many people call brain fog. And for most of them, the connection between these symptoms and their porn use, well, it isn't obvious at all, at least not at first.
And hey, this isn't just people talking about it online. A formal study found this staggering number: over half of teenage boys reporting symptoms of a sexual problem like ED. That suggests we're looking at a widespread public health issue, not just a handful of isolated cases.
This feeling right here, this is what drives so many people to finally make a change. It's not just about sex anymore. It's about this profound loss of vitality. As this one user put it so powerfully, they felt emotionally numb, totally disconnected, like they were just going through the motions of life. A zombie.
But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because in response to all these problems, this massive, informal experiment began. It was all driven by one simple question. If the brain can be changed for the worse by overstimulation, can it change back?
And they call it rebooting. The whole idea is actually pretty simple, and it's grounded in a real scientific principle called neuroplasticity, which is just the brain's amazing ability to rewire itself. The goal is to remove that constant artificial stimulus and just give the brain's reward system a chance to heal, to recalibrate, to get back to a point where normal, everyday life feels rewarding again.
But I gotta tell you, this journey is not a walk in the park. It often follows a pretty predictable pattern. After a really intense initial withdrawal phase, many people hit something they call the flat line, where their libido just completely vanishes.
And while that sounds really alarming, the people who stick with it report that this phase is almost always followed by a gradual recovery, as attraction to real people and normal sexual function slowly starts to come back online.
So, why should any of this matter to you, especially if you don't even use porn? Well, because this whole massive experiment has basically produced a playbook full of practical, powerful wisdom for anyone who's trying to build a little more self-control in an age of just endless digital distraction.
And maybe the biggest lesson of all is this: stop relying on pure willpower. Seriously, instead, manage your environment. It's all about making it easier for you to succeed. You know, blockers aren't foolproof, but they act like little speed bumps. They create just enough of a pause for your rational brain to catch up with that initial impulse. Even something as simple as moving your computer to a different room can help break those unconscious cues that trigger the old habits.
And remember, it's not just about what you stop doing. It's really about what you start doing. You have to actively replace that artificial reward with healthy, natural ones. Exercise is probably the #1 tool for regulating your mood. Real, face-to-face social connection, creative hobbies, meditation, all these things help rebuild the parts of your brain, and frankly, the parts of your life that compulsive habits can wear down. Ultimately, what this whole phenomenon really shows us isn't about judging a specific activity. It's a modern story about a truly timeless human challenge. How do we achieve self-mastery in a world that offers an infinite supply of supernormal stimulation right at our fingertips? What this grassroots movement suggests is that the path back is through understanding our own brains and then consciously, deliberately choosing our rewards.